Welcome back. Episode 68 of the Ground Up podcast.
What people do with their time 50 years ago compared to now. And before it was like 40% of their time was spending time around family. Now it's like 15% of their time and 40% of their time being on the social media.
The social media.
A www dot.
As we build our profile through Ground Up and through what we're doing, there'll be successes we get with that. There'll also be these nefarious actors who try and leverage our profiles to get investors and to take people's money to sell courses. We're going to have to be careful of that. I guarantee it's going to happen.
Putting kids on social media and whether you want your children on social media, obviously Stu's completely absorbed that.
I'm like, yeah, whatever, man, let's get on with it. Like,
I would rather watch a video that's real than one that's been created. The created ones are quite funny because it's quite new and you can watch Kim Jong-un snogging Trump and it's quite funny, but that soon gets old, right?
That's what you're into, mate. Fair.
Ground up sound, ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down, let's get those deals. Deals, deals making money, baby.
Welcome back. Episode 68 of the Ground Up podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about, we're going to have an AI debate. We're going to talk about shit that's coming with AI. We've got a whole load of different news items that we're going to scroll through as well. Different things happening in our sector. Government's abysmal efforts at meeting the housing targets that they set out, and all kinds of other bits and bobs to do with EV charging uptake and those things as well, all of which affects our sector. So that is what we're going to talk about today. If you don't know who we are 4 property developers from the UK. We've got Jack Jiggins, Stuart Wyeth, Dorian Payne, who is not here yet because he's usually late, but he'll be here soon, and myself, Ryan Beaumont. And every week we get around the mic and we talk about property, business, what it's like to do this kind of stuff, market nuggets, all that kind of shit. So if you enjoy, please subscribe, share the episode with anyone you think may find it useful. I'm going to do my best today to not swear as much as I usually do because I'm trying to be a better person and I tend to have a bit of a potty mouth. Sometimes I'm all right. Sometimes I just swear a lot. I think it's tethered to my excitement. So I'm going to try today, fellas. Feel free to boo me.
my wife's got exactly the same problem. When the kids are around, she's good as gold. The second they go to bed, she's fuck this, fuck that. Like, doesn't need the swear words, man.
She's got a good reason because she's dealing with raising kids. So she's building up angst and stress that she's unleashing it on you, Stu. But like, I don't have a good enough reason.
Got a potty mouth, yeah. Okay.
My mum won't let my brother swear. Like if we're out and we're going for a meal and he drops a bomb, she would just cut across and be like, don't swear. But I'm allowed to because I've worked on a building site, and my mum just thinks, oh, Jack just picked that up from bad habits. But Rob doesn't have an excuse.
Let's call it, mate. All right, guys, I shit you not, and for the viewers' benefit, yeah.
I shit you not. You've done what, 20 seconds before you saw there. Should we count them up?
Should we get actually before we go into that, I want to share that voice clip that you recorded the other day, and it just made me laugh so much. I can't remember the exact words, but you recorded a voice clip, and you were like, hang on a second, lads, I need to start this voice clip again. And the only thing that you had added the second time was like, right, fuck, shit.
Well, I'll do a little tally. We've got shit, 1. Let's see how many we can catch up.
I'm trying to clear the thoughts, I think is what it does. Like the fuck and the shit, it just kind of like moves everything out of the way in my mind. And then I'm straight in. But yeah, all right. I didn't mean to swear, so no more swearing. But you guys will like this. You guys will like this, yeah? So for the viewers' benefit, we all used to meet up every week or every month. And it was like a rolling thing that I was like, I'm going to quit vaping. I'm going to quit vaping. I'm going to quit vaping. I've said it for years. And I just never really had the right motivation to quit. But last Thursday, I quit vaping and I've not touched a vape since. But I am on the snus. I'm on the snus, so I've not quit nicotine. So maybe it doesn't mean much, but it is different though.
Is that the thing you put in your gum?
Yeah, you put it in your gum and then you just like suck it. It's like a mint, I suppose. But it releases nicotine. This might help any of our viewers who actually do have a vaping problem because so many people vape now. If you want to quit and you've tried and you've done the whole throw it in the bin, but then you just buy another one the next time you go to the local Sainsbury's, then try using snus because it actually works. 3-dot snus, that will get you off the vapes. I haven't even looked at a vape since because it satisfies your cravings. So
Does it not increase your nicotine amount though? I don't know what the nicotine content is in them, but when I gave up smoking years ago and then went to, I missed the vaping craze, and then had to go to like lozenges or chewing gum. I had to keep mixing it up until you literally just have to go no more nicotine for like, it only takes you like 2 days of just focus, and then you sort of break that habit. But nicotine is the hardest drug to give up if you've tried lots of drugs.
yeah,
That's the worst
yeah,
one.
and then nicotine's one of the
Cigars.
hard ones.
Cigars. Have a cigar on the
tough.
Sunday walk.
That's all right though.
Then
It's
wanting one on the Monday. That's the problem.
Winston Churchill style-esque.
You were saying that the other day, Stu, when you noticed yourself smoking a few cigars and you were like, oh, I need to kick that.
Yeah, well, it's just basically going from smoking to not smoking to then trying one, thinking you can power and conquer nicotine, and before you know it, one celebratory cigar, a week later, 3 weeks later, you're wanting another one, and before you know it, you're wanting one every day. And then obviously, I didn't want to go back to smoking because I can't stand it. But when we had Hudson, it was so hard. I would go out in the garden at fucking 8 o'clock on my own and spark up a £200 cigar. I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? This is crazy. And then I had to then get onto the lozenges.
Why a 200 quid cigar? You are just so all or nothing.
Exactly, it was crazy. You'd go to what's it called, Surrey Cigars, mate, and you go and buy 600 quid worth, 700 quid worth of cigars, and then you'd be there next week. Like, what am I doing? It's crazy. But I didn't want to go back to smoking, so then you go on to lozenges, chewing gum. It's just a horrible habit to kick. It takes 6 months to a year, but for me to get it out of my system, but never going back.
I do think, yeah, and you know, I'm sure we've all got stories like this, but my dad's a smoker and his doctors always said to him, it's going to kill you, you should stop smoking. But all his mates he knows who's tried to stop smoking, have a health kick, drop dead like a year later. And it's probably because of the body just builds an innate habit to these things, and stress kills much quicker than nicotine does. And I think people just get stressed who are so used to nicotine and smoking and the habit and the comfort that comes with it that, you know. But for young people who are vaping, like our age group, you should stop. Like, you should try and get off of it if you can. But if you're in your 60s and you've done it your whole life,
Got a question for you two. Do you think entrepreneurs typically have an addictive personality?
100%. 100%.
The program's gone west. We're giving people advice on quitting vaping, and Stuart smoking £200 cigars.
I got a cigar actually.
Yeah, I've got a humidor on my desk. I've got a really cool lighter as well. I'll share it. It's one of those jet lighters which has a really strong flame. Why I like it is because it's got a cutter on it here, so I can cut a V shape in the end while I'm out and about.
oh, that's cool. That's a little gizmo. That.
It's also when I'm doing my Bond villain scenes, I can also cut the end of people's fingers off if they owe me any money.
Yeah, nice. But do you not fancy a cigar more and more? How many do you have a month then, Jack? Because there is a discipline in not wanting another one.
I'm pretty good with cigars, to be fair. Probably one every few weeks. Yeah, my father-in-law loves them. So if I ever go out to see him in the States, there's always a cigar waiting for me if we play a round of golf, and we play golf every day. So I'll do one a day there. But that's worth it. He gets some really, 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 really decent ones that last the whole round.
That's the whole round. Wow.
Do you smoke at all? You ever smoked? You ever done cigarettes, vape?
No, mate. No, I had a very brief stint of it, but my problem, well, it's not a problem. It's probably a good thing. My throat flames up, so I kind of have like a reaction to it. So
It's because you're smoking plastic cigars, mate.
You smoke the £200 stuff, all right?
Yeah,
if anything really,
it's not
cigarettes,
200 quid upwards. Stop
cigars,
looking at it.
paper.
Oh, I can't believe you smoked £200 cigars. Fucking mental.
Who spent £200 on a cigar? You did, Stuart.
At least.
At least. What's the most you've ever spent on one cigar?
Somebody gave me this as a present, but in there it has some cigars in there. I don't know.
Go on, spark it up, mate.
Say £400 cigar. I'm trying to think of the names of them now.
Romeo and Juliet.
Spark one up now, D. Go on, D. Get one out.
I'll get my humidor out as well if we do.
Guys, I am running out of time. I've got to go on this course, man.
This is a ground up show.
Still making me want to have a cigar now.
Oh,
Come on.
Uh,
We've got 45 minutes. I need to go.
Oh, you want it? SMSTS, yeah? Oh, look what I just found. I found a 10 shilling. A 10 shillings note.
You know, I had the equivalent. You know, when you used to go into a set of jeans and find like a 20 or a 50 quid note. Do you remember that? I bet Stu's probably worth about 15 grand in his jeans. But
Yeah, probably, yeah.
of that last night, I was going out for dinner yesterday, yesterday evening, and I was like, so I've got my own company, obviously outside Ben and Rob's stuff, And I was like, I better put some money in there so I can put dinner through it. Because obviously it was a business meal, but Rob and Ben weren't there, so I put it through that business. And I went in there and I'd forgotten that I'd dumped a bit of cash in there, like completely forgotten. And I went in and I was like, oh, this is the modern version of finding a 50 in your pocket.
It's like free money, isn't it? You find it out. Oh, that's
Yeah, I
great.
completely forgot I put it in there.
It's like finding profit.
Yeah.
I never carry cash still. I'm completely cashless. I don't know about you guys. I know Stuart always carries cash because if you're ever out with him, he's throwing 20s left, right, and centre. Someone opens the door. Here's 20. Whoa. Yes. Back of the queue. Here's 20. Can I get?
If you haven't got your wallet on you and your phone's dead, how are you going to get home? I mean, I was stuck in Waterloo the other day. We went to Nottingham this week, and that someone's threw himself off a bridge, I think, in Wimbledon, and an hour and a half waiting at Waterloo. I had no battery left on my phone. The only thing I had was some cash in my pocket. It cost me 200 quid to go home. It's doubled in price since the last time I got stuck in Waterloo and had to go home.
You realise though that in most places they now have mobile phone charging docks.
Yeah, but then you need a charger, and if you know, mate,
Oh, they supply the charger.
Yeah, it's a charging dock without a charge.
Or just go in somewhere and ask them to charge your phone.
Plugs on the wall.
Cash at the ready when we were in Mipham. I think it was the first year we went. Me and Stu got a taxi to a nightclub, and the queue was really long because obviously everyone's piled over there for Mipham. And we walked to the front of the queue, and Stu was like, "Can we not just dive in here, mate?" to the bouncer, and he was like, "No, you got to get back of the queue." And Stu went, "What about now?" and just handed over like 50 quid, and the bloke was like, "Yeah, come on then."
It's the language of the world. Money talks. All right, look, we are derailing this. Okay, all right, back on track. Stu, you've got an interesting week. So tell us what your it's a really boring week as well, but
it's a boring week, mate. It's something I gave no time to until now, and now I'm in the thick of it. Well, I had a good weekend, so I went to this barbecue thing with a good friend of mine, and it was like we gate crashed a barbecue. So the missus bought it for me and him, not my missus for him, his missus for him, and me for our Father's Day present. So we went to Cobham, turned up, South African lad. He loves his barbecue, and he set up during COVID, and it was like 6 hours where you just bring your own beer. We sit under this undercover pagoda, and we literally cook barbecue and talk meat and beer and small talk with a load of lads for 6 hours. That was a good Saturday, which obviously it was lovely, mate. Yeah, we were doing chicken and pork and beef and all sorts of like cooking it. It was really lovely, actually, steak. And Sunday went to watch Oasis, and then got home. Will and I went on Sunday, so we got back at like 12:15 on Monday morning.
breeze over that. How was that? Because I wish I'd.
So good. It was just amazing. It had to be done, to be honest. I was getting such FOMO, and we already had it booked anyway. But yeah, it was great. It's just so good seeing them live, man. It's undescribable. But that was good. And then woke up fucking Monday morning straight into SMSTS, which is like a health and safety management course. I think it's for more CPD, really. I'm just trying to up the boys with the lofts and to make sure that we're taking all the stuff we're learning from commercial and applying it to the domestic market, just doing our health and safety policies. And it's basically a 6-day course over 5 days. You get like 2 days, 2 hours a night of homework to read, and then you got a test at the end, and you have to do it upgrade every 5 years. But to be honest, it needed to be done, really. Like, we really want to take the whole company forward, and it just means that we've got to improve every area of the business. And I think health and safety is just a massive thing that can be always put on the sidelines and not thought about until things can potentially happen. So yeah, it's good. It's
Question is, why are you doing the course, Stu?
because I do believe that for me to really empower everyone else in the company, I need to do it, and I need to do it from the top down. Because it's all well and good me going, you guys get on with it, but if I don't fully understand it and fully understand the process, why would I not? Will said exactly the same. You don't need to be doing this. I'm thinking, I sort of do for my own professional benefit, I would say.
Your managerial style, isn't it? Like you like knowing.
I had like a HSC visit, and obviously because I'm the main director of the company, when I had a meeting with them, they did ask me for my, what health and safety kind of training and knowledge do I have. I know you can have somebody appointed, etc., but they are also checking to see you still have a fiduciary duty if you're involved in construction. And I've done SMSTS, and there's also these 1-day director courses as well, Stu. Like IR Stu, so something I'd recommend you do as well, because it's all about the problem we've got is we'll do it, but we're still relying on the team to follow through with it. So that's all about. I mean, health and safety is it's a difficult one because, like I said, we invest so much into it, and then in the inspection we had, there's a significant amount also on occupational health as well, which SMSTS is more all about on-site health and safety, but occupational health is a huge focus from HSC as well, which is all about the well-being of your employees and making sure that well, not just the well-being, but well, Stuart, have you covered occupational health yet and under SMSTS?
It was all day about Health and Safety Act and just the principles of who's responsible, principal designers, principal contractors, what powers the HSE have got.
Probably cover it because it's like when you go into the things like face masks, etc. It covers it, but it's all about the you've got health and safety and legislation and all the different regs and requirements, but then you've got occupational health, which is all about the individuals, the health and safety relating to individual people. So, and that could be things like working too many hours, and it could be about their mental health, and it could be about their stress levels, and it could be about, have you had them checked for various different symptoms and conditions and all that. All, to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff I'll be honest with you, we're strong as a company from a health and safety point of view, but from an occupational health point of view, we wasn't, to be honest. So we've actually had to employ a different consultant to help us get up to speed with all of that. So
Yeah, like the old policies and stuff used to be like 0 tolerance for alcohol and drug abuse and stuff. But now they're trying to say, rather than actually having 0 tolerance, is actually trying to work out why and try and help the person through the problems they've got, rather than just binning them off. So it's all that sort of stuff that is just the new way of thinking. But yeah, it's because I go to sites a lot as well. So rather than just turn up, have a cup of tea with the customers, it's a case of they need to have it's all about accountability. So if something happens on site, my old thinking was, well, they're self-employed, and there is an act in here that basically says that self-employed people are responsible for their own health and safety. It's a really grey line, which isn't really the way that you should be thinking, that you should be taking full accountability as a business, and then it's down to you and your processes, procedures to make sure that no accidents happen, and that we've all got a duty to make sure that everyone goes to work and get home to their families without causing damage or life-threatening injuries. So it's just a different way of thinking about it. Is that ultimately it all sits under the director. This director's responsibility. They're the ones that go to prison. They're the ones that pay the big fines, and it's just easy enough. For enough years, I've just said you need to sort this out, and now I'm just totally changing it around to going, right, I need to take full ownership and accountability of it and learn it from within, and then I can go around to sites and obviously do my health and safety checks and stuff just as and when I'm potting around. And it also gives them a call. So if there is a problem on site, or they see something like a scaffold's not set up properly, or they need something that they're not happy with, they then legally can call me and I can make a call. And obviously you learn about, when you just get on with it, do it at the weekend, all these things that can sometimes slip through. Not that I do it, but that's what they were talking about on the course, is that if you just turn your back to it, you are effectively accountable. So it's down and there's no profit. You can't be putting profit or any commercial decisions ahead of health and safety. And so effectively, and if there's something on site that they haven't brought it to my attention and something happens, it does make the blame shared a little bit between them knowing what's right and wrong. So it's just there's no grandfather rights anymore. You need the qualifications. You need site supervisors and site managers at MVQ level 4, 5, 6, 7. And everyone on the business. So my new health and safety policies is that everyone will be health and safety trained. Sorry, first aid trained. Everyone will have asbestos training. Everyone will have working at heights training. And everyone will have what's the course below the SMSTS, SSSTI, I think. Triple STS, yeah. So they're all going to have, all the site managers will have this training. So it's just a new standard that I want to implement, and then I'll use it to market and to talk to new customers about it.
Are you registered with CITB?
I'm not, because we don't do the employers. We don't do the. I used to be for my old company, and they still are. Where we, what do you call it? The apprentices, the apprenticeship scheme. But you need to pay like 1.5%, is it, of your turnover, indefinitely?
Yeah. And those courses are free, but you need to see if you because you do construction yourselves, you need to see if you're actually legally required. Have you checked that to register? Because it's more of a legal requirement.
It's I don't know if it's a legal requirement, because we're more of a project management company. Well, we were. I don't know about the new regs. I'll ask them today.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting conversation on health and safety. I mean, for our viewers' benefit, this stuff all might sound really boring. Particularly if you're not in property and you might be in a sector where health and safety isn't such a big deal, but in construction, we share little stories every now and then in our group chats where there's been some case law or someone who's been made an example of, where someone fell off a ladder, broke their back, and now they're facing, some criminal prosecution or a huge fine, and it can all just happen like that. Everyone's had mishaps on site, but if you have a bad one, it could be the end of your career, couldn't it? So I suppose it's at a certain scale you do take that responsibility. What's made you kick into it now, Stu? What was like the thing that made you go, I need to because you've always been good with health and safety anyway. I've seen your sites.
Yeah, no, I mean they're good. It's the commercial stuff we've got. We're using a consultant, and he has taken our commercial side, and I'm learning so much from there, and Will's learning so much from there that it's becoming poles apart from what we do with the domestic versus the commercial. So it's just inevitable. If we're going into these bigger sites, we're going to apply stuff. We're not going to do it to half the business. We need to do it to all the business. And for me to keep up to speed with all the new learnings, I need to really get on board as well. So that's why.
Nice, mate. Nice. Professional. Jack, you got anything thrilling you want to bring to the table as well? You disappeared. You're back.
I'm struggling over here. My stand-up desk won't go down, so I'm permanently having to stand up. But what have I got to share? I mean, I shared with you guys before I came on. Big shout out to my brother and his now wife. Got married at the weekend in Italy. Bit of a whirlwind trip because I flew out very late Thursday night. Got back late yesterday morning, so I'm sort of running on fumes and juggling life. Right, that's actually my luggage there that I haven't unpacked. My desk is all wonky and won't go down to sitting height. So yesterday, for pretty much all the day, I was standing up at my desk, but not too much else to share, really.
Well, what about business first? Anything you want to share, business progress or anything happening that's interesting, or just chugging along?
Oh yeah, I suppose going through the motions, really. Our developments all cruising along. We've actually just sold our last unit in Marlow, so that site's completely sold. And we're sort of charging along to completely sort of wash our hands of that site, and it will be quite a profitable deal, which is really good. So that's 8 units, GDV I think about 3.3, 3.4. What else is going on? Central Suites is super busy. We've got loads of live projects going on. Just had another one go under offer, which we're going to take through planning. Still got the interns working for us. So they're keeping me on my toes because Rob's away in Italy, and they're both in Central Suites. XP Surveys is still having strong month after strong month. We just almost did 50k last month, which is really good to see. Really good trajectory in that business, and that's kind of like a really clear case of you got to take a step back, hire the right people in, even if they're non-fee earners. Like a business development manager, really been essential for that part of growth in the business. Had a really cool dinner last night. I don't know if I can share that much of it, but it's basically one of Kelly's friends from the US. He's ex-military, and he's just got a new job, and he's basically, I won't go into too much detail, but he's basically like some form of like security protection for Zuckerberg. So he's like really close to his like movements, his what he does, and he's analyzes situations and does like all security type of stuff. So I was in my zone chatting to him yesterday because if I wasn't an entrepreneur and in business, I either wanted to be a firefighter or in close protection, because I just love that like strategy, risk management, and then also if you need to get physical, being fit, like that's like me in a nutshell. Like I love the thought of that sort of stuff. So I was fascinated by that, which was really interesting because obviously he's one of the wealthiest people on earth, and when he was talking through like how he lives his life, it makes you, because it's completely unique, like how they go about their day and what they've got to think about. And he's actually got quite a few haters because of all of like the metadata that he's collecting as his view is just, if you don't like it, fucking delete your account and move on, which is probably quite right. But
easy to say when you're a monopoly. Easy to say, isn't it? Imagine trying to go through life without a Facebook or Instagram account these days. It'd be pretty difficult, wouldn't it?
yeah, I mean, but if you go into a restaurant and you don't like your meal, you don't go back. But social media is, you pick a platform, don't you? So you got to ride with a. I mean, that segues quite nicely into the AI chat. Should we go into that now?
Yeah, go on. Sesh it. Let's go. Hello, baby.
Sorry, boys. Just got to do a little bit of a job.
Daily duties. It's all right. Mate.
Yeah,
Daily duties.
this is Hudson. So he just got from the nursery. Hello, say hello. Say hello.
Bonjour.
Wave. Hello.
Or dad, Hudson, or dad, straight tea.
This is Jack's about to go into AI about why you shouldn't have kids on telly, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. Let's get on with it. Like,
Here we are.
can't go through life without not having a digital. Let's have a chat. What?
I mean, yeah, let's talk about it. So one topic I wanted to bring up today was like decision making of putting kids on social media and whether you want your children on social media. Obviously, Stu's completely absorbed that, but like the way I see the digital era going with like AI and things that can be recreated, there's going to be, obviously we've talked about, I think we've talked about before, like the blackmail potential of they say because of AI, every family should have a safe word, because your spouse or family could be completely copied from a digital format and then put in a distressful situation of hostage. So you might get a call from your wife or mum saying, I've been held hostage, and you don't actually know if it's true. So they say that you should have a internal safe word within your family that's never put in message, chat, talked about, but you all know what that word is. And if you said to that chatbot, what is the safe word, your mum would know it or your partner would know it in that particular situation. And then equally, going a layer deeper, is where's the digital format going for the future generation? Do you want them part of that without their choice and without us knowing where it's going? I feel like we're too late. Like you could pretty much create any type of video of any of us, because there's so much digital stuff out there in that sphere where people could, a bot could create something of us and we don't have any control over that. But then moving into like the criminal side of things, is I think that it's going to regress back into more DNA and less digital video evidence, because you can create videos now that look so alike or real, and is only going to get better. So I think that we're kind of regressing a bit, and I feel like the digital space needed that break, where we've gone into this like doom scrolling, and the time that we spent on social media. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a graph of what people do with their time 50 years ago compared to now. And before, it was like 40% of their time was spending time around family. Now it's like 15% of their time and 40% of their time being online. And I feel like it needed a break. Something needed to happen that pushes people a little bit away from digital space and become more in love with the real things, like experiences, spending time with people, putting your phones down. And I think that AI, because it's just I would rather watch a video that's real than one that's been created. The created ones are quite funny because it's quite new, and you can watch Kim Jong-un, snogging Trump, and it's quite funny. But that soon gets old, right?
That's what you're into, mate. Fair.
But that soon gets old. So I think it's coming to that break point that we needed in our world to actually go, there's going to become a point where I think a lot of the online stuff is just shit, and we're going to be pushed away from it, hopefully, and spend more time away from the social media. So yeah, just quite a big topic on AI and where it's going. And what
You used a couple of hints of like some really old language in there. It's like the social media. And so I was just going to be referring to his computer.
www dot.
Going to be referring to his computer as the machine in a minute as well. It's just so
I think a good starting place for this, because I have this debate quite a lot with people about is social media a net benefit and all that kind of stuff. But we're all of an age where we remember being youthful without technology and without social media, and then the transition into a world of social media. Do you remember when like Facebook started coming about and your mates started to get on there, and MySpace, and suddenly these interactions you
MSN,
had.
Bebo.
Yeah, and you were used to having interactions socially in an analog environment, in school or in a workplace or wherever, and that's where it was contained. And it got picked back up when you went back there. Facebook suddenly transcended that and took that to like a shared place online. And I thought it was quite cool when it started, and then it kind of divulged into this different thing that it's become now. But do you guys remember that? Like, how old were you when that transition happened? Because we're slightly different ages, aren't we?
Yeah, I was like 15, 16 when it was all kicking off, and it was all like you thought it was a bit of a fad. You sort of joined a network, used it for a few days, and then got bored of it and moved on. It just wasn't part of like the makeup of society, and now obviously it's completely changed. Sorry, man, I'm trying to listen and deal with him.
Problem I've got, right, is that a lot of my memory is kind of like erased because of I struggled. I can't really remember much, or I do remember that I went through high school without a smartphone pretty much until uh, towards later on. At one point, I didn't even have a phone, but that was more of my own kind of choosing rather than that. There was like you said, the MySpace, MSN, Bebo type of stuff, but and I did use it, but I can't really remember until later on in school, like when I left, which was probably when I was 16, that it wasn't a necessity. Everybody was on MSN, and you'd be like, "Oh, MSN you later," but it was still very much like it wasn't that critical in terms of like day life, if that makes sense. Like, I could go through school, I could go through stuff without having my phone and probably just message people later, but I couldn't imagine that in today's world.
Like similar to Dorian, like I can't really remember like pivotal age just because it wasn't that important. I lived quite like an outdoors upbringing. Like a weekend for me would be going camping in the woods, that where a phone wasn't a thing. Um, and I do have a memory of when I try and like pin it to like situations in my life, and one was when I was 19, I cycled from John O'Groats to Land's End, and I didn't take a phone, so I didn't have a mobile phone with me. So we travelled 19 years old all the way from John O'Groats to Land's End, took 14 days. We're camping the whole way down and rough sleeping in like woodland and middle of roundabouts, all that sort of thing. And it wasn't part of my life that I took a phone, and I just cracked on with it. And I kind of like crave that life again. If that makes sense. Like being a bit removed from being in contact, and you're just, away with it. And, Simon Cowell doesn't have a phone. He never has.
Yeah, he has humans that task the messages to him.
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking to my bank manager yesterday actually, because he's been away for 3 weeks, and he said, "Oh, I just really want to go. I've been to this like fishing village in the Philippines or Malaysia, whatever it was, somewhere like that." And instinctively, I just assumed that he didn't have a phone or anything like that. So, oh, it must have been good to like not have a phone, disconnect and thing. He said, "No, no, there was Wi-Fi." I said, "All right, okay."
There are there's good actually Mo Gawdat. I just talked about Mo Gawdat before this, and as he's an AI non ex-exec of Google, and he does a 40-day retreat once a year as like a cleanse. And he was talking about it because he was complaining how he didn't do it this year, and he said it's like a great reset, like a human reset on the body to just get all of that kind of intoxicating and overwhelming information that's coming in through our laptops, through our phones, through our TV screens, through people around us nowadays. Like he said, you just go out there and there's just nothing, and you're just around people, and it's not like a silent retreat. It's just like a calming, in nature, immerse yourself sort of retreat. And I do like the idea of doing something like that. I wouldn't do 40 days. I could do a week though. I don't know if you guys have ever done it on a weekend where you just go, do you know what? This weekend, fuck work, fuck my phone. I'm just gonna. Sorry, I've sworn again.
Bill Gates does a is it a 2-week period where he fucks off the family? Yeah, put that in the swear jar, Stu. And he just reads books. And interestingly, that hopefully, if you are a listener and you're thinking I can't take time away from work, that should, if someone that successful that's got that much going on can.
It's recalibrating the mind, though, isn't it? Like I think nowadays we get so caught up in working hard and working fervently being the productive thing to do. Actually, nowadays I think the strategic advantage is being able to detach from all of these potential distractions and then refocusing the mind on like what's actually important, rather than a distraction that leads to some node that feels like it's productive, but actually you're just going in rabbit holes of unproductivity. Staying on the critical path, I think, is hard to do now because you can just get so much inbound, can't you, from all these different things. I think it's quite hard to manage. Dia, how are you with this stuff? Because you're quite, you're obviously dead focused on things. How do you deal with distractions? You don't deal with WhatsApp and stuff like that, do you?
All my notifications on my phone are off, and so that's a big one. Obviously, I still have my phone and I'm still connected, but I'm connected where I then choose to be, if that makes sense. So, but do you know what? I spend a lot of time. I'm a typical, as you know, I have the 9 to 5 basically, which is a lot of my time is focused on troubleshooting, putting out fires, dealing with people in meetings, all that sort of stuff. And then I have my 5 to 9, so to speak. But really, it's more like, it's more like 7 till 7, and then home with the kids for a couple of hours, and then Monday to Friday it's more like 9 till midnight. In those hours, I'm kind of recapping the day, and then I'm thinking for the next day, and I'm trying to do my kind of strategic thinking in those times. So even last night, actually, I was making notes last night because I go through these ups and downs mentally where sometimes when I spend too much time in the business, I get really worked up because I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I'm just dealing with ops stuff. I'm not thinking big enough. I'm not pushing the business. I'm not doing anything, and I get kind of hyped up like that. And then sometimes I go through a spell where I'm just focusing purely on strategic stuff. It's kind of coming back to the way I used to track the time, but I couldn't go away for 2 weeks and disconnect at the minute because right now I'm on a journey to get the business where it needs to be, but it's quite volatile because of there's so much stuff like on the edge, and if it doesn't come off, I need to be the one to make decisions of how we move forward. But I see that as a weakness, and I'm working on a plan to kind of sort that out over the coming year. But
You do, and Dia, you spoke about this before anyway, so I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying. But I remember we went skiing, and like you would be you're very good at being in the moment when you're in the moment, and then like literally the next moment you could suddenly be like in your head, right, and you're just gone, and like literally gone. It's not like he's thinking back in the room. D, oh, he's back. No, D literally has fucked off and he's gone to the chalet on a walk on his own, so he can just think about stuff. Like that's
yeah,
legit.
yeah,
for a
yeah.
few hours as well.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes to explain. Sometimes I can't really control that. It's like I'm doing something, and then something like I just said then, and then something happens in my brain where it's just like I get worked up where I'm like, this is, I this is now no longer serving what I need to do. I need to now, I need to. This is what I need to do, and that might be going away. And I did that a few times, as you've seen on ski trips, and then sometimes I need to go away. I need to think. I need to plan. I need to sort X, Y, and Z out, and just I create my own level of urgency in my brain, which means I have to do that now.
Do you wish you could turn that on and off? Do you wish you could go this week? I'm going to turn that off.
Yeah. I don't know. You could turn it, but it's hard to explain sometimes. I don't. It's very.
Yeah, but not without stressing yourself out, right? I'm sure if you tried to turn it off, you'd be just stressing about trying to turn it off rather than actually enjoying the upside of turning it off.
Yeah. So if I'm around anybody now, people who know me now, they just know that sometimes it's best just to let them leave me, like when I need to go into some, just let me do that, and then I'll come back, and then it'll be grand, and then it's a little bit quirky, but it works. I think anyway, it keeps me going.
Tismy, innit, dude?
Tismy. Yeah.
Everyone's got a bit of tism. All right, Jack. Well, you asked the question. I know we've kind of circularly gone around a few different things there. So AI, kids, future, stuff like that. Like, what's your main sort of concern? Like, how do you deduce the information?
So I just don't think social media is. I think it's good to have quite a limited presence and a choice personally. Obviously, we all use it from a business perspective because it's really effective from a marketing. But it's then what I've done wrong is my personal is my business, and that's it exclusively. So I don't have that switch off capabilities. It's kind of like
Ghost account, mate. Make a ghost account. You can just make it up. No one needs to know. You call it Looney Tunes or something, and you could just and that just only your close mates are on it, and then that's how you can do that. If you want it, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, but so that's like obviously the original purpose of having a social media presence from the good old days. The MySpace, Bebo, Facebook was to connect with people that you could then communicate with, share ideas with, make events, share photos, and it was originally a family environment. Now that's completely different. It's kind of the everything of marketing, really. And like I get it where sometimes I'll get a phone call and it will interrupt my thoughts or my conversation I'm having with someone, and I'll look at who's phoning me, and sometimes my first thought is, why do they deserve my time? And it's kind of like that amplified, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, when did I give them my number?
Jack, I'll note that next time. I'll drop you.
Pick up.
Are you free for a call,
You
Jack?
three know that I will
want to waste your time.
move above and beyond to pick up the phone to you three. But it's it's like a finance broker that I'm not actually currently doing a deal with, and they're calling me at 7:30 p.m. and it's ruined my train of thought. I've looked at my phone. I've gone, no.
It just reminds me of that scene of Wolf of Wall Street with his dad going to answer the phone, and the phone rings, he's watching TV, and he's fucking blowing up, kicking off, throwing sofas around, and the answer, hello.
I agree with that, though, Jack.
Gee,
Like,
good to see you from you.
I completely agree with what you're saying, though, Jack. I'm in a good place now. I've done what Dee's done, turned all my notifications off, other than WhatsApp. I do want to turn WhatsApp ones off, but I'm not at that point yet. But if I get a call through, my immediate instinct is to not look at my phone and just mute it. And then if I'm in something, I won't even look at who's calling. But every now and then I'll look, and if it's not someone immediate, I'll just go. If they don't, I can just call them later. There's nothing that's that important that I need to answer the phone for right now, unless they call you 2-3 times in a row. Then it's like, okay, maybe I should pick it up.
With kids though and social media, I think the big problem you got is the fact is that when everyone's on it and they're not, that's where the problem comes. Is this peer pressure is it becomes part of society that that if when they start going through school, especially those with older siblings, they've a lot of them have phones and they're on different type of get. Like we have this problem now with my one son, he's 7, and some of his other friends are playing certain games where you know they're for older kids type of thing, but because they've got older siblings, and that's like the step below having a social media account, etc. And all because it's really the same issue.
Kids can feel ostracized if they don't have a connection
Yeah,
to that social.
yeah, and they do.
curriculum.
They do because that's what it comes home about. It's like they're playing something, you can't be involved in it. It's causing a problem, getting upset about it. And I'm thinking to myself, I was the third child, right? So I had 2 older brothers above me and then a younger sister below me. So by the time I was when I was young, I was able, because through a combination of just how it worked, I had access. I was playing Grand Theft Auto as a child, It was like, it just, I was watching South Park before I was in high school, I was an 8 when Kenny died on every episode. That was type of stuff. So for me, it worked out all right, but I don't know. You don't know, do you?
You don't. Well, I mean, Stu, I know you got to shoot, Stu. Shoot soon, Stu. So what's your? Have you and Charlotte had that conversation about Emily and Hudson yet? Are they too young? Have you spoke about phones, social media?
I think that social media is deceptive in the basis that you can be as involved or little involved as possible. I try and keep social media. I've got a friends and family account and then a work account. I try not to, obviously you try and market yourself and put as much out there as you feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, if someone's granularizing down to try and do a copy of me or my family, the world's falling to pieces. Really, I think that I look at the law of averages and the odds and go, there's so many people out there that are more important to do that type of work than ourselves. I mean, I just think that it's like going back to SMS and text days. It's like people were nervous at the time then that people are going to copy people and pretend to be other people. I just think that the AI industry will not let that happen. And there will always be an element of fraud in everything. But I'm not going to affect the next 20 years of my life. I think that my family would miss out if I wasn't sharing stuff on social media and people I can't, I've got aunties and stuff that I love dearly that I haven't spoke to for years because there isn't enough time. I haven't got enough time to see my gran every other week that I want to see her. So I just think it's a way of them keeping in touch from a distance and still feeling quite connected to what's going on. And equally, I can see and keep in contact with close friends and family that I haven't got time for as much as I'd like. So
I agree with that quality. That quality of social media is nice. It does. I don't know if it's slightly dystopian, but you can stay connected with people you otherwise don't see very regularly at all, and you could feel like you're still involved in their life a little bit. And there's something nice about that.
There's life chapters that happen, whether it's someone getting married or someone's had their first kid or a baby shower, whatever's going on, that you can you might not be there with them, but you sort of feel that connection with them. And I think that's what's important to in a very busy world, which no one knew how busy it was going to get, and who knows, in 10 years' time it could get even busier, or we might have this great reset. But during that transition of life, I think it's quite important to just stay connected. And I'm not going to weigh up the fear of someone making a virtual AI person of me or my children.
Yeah, I think my problem is the gap, right? So we're from a business perspective everywhere and anywhere as us four, and then you've got the family stuff, and like I feel like the in between just gives everyone everything. Like, there's people on my social media that I don't want them to know that I've taken my kid to the park, and it's not because I think they're going to then run to the park and shoot them. It's because I want that for me and my family.
Yeah, but if you're your family, so why don't you set up JJ Jigs, and have your own
JJ
account,
going down the
Jigs.
park,
Yeah,
gonna have
yeah,
200
and
quid
capture
cigar.
those moments. The only reason I enjoyed doing
No.
social media in the first place, the only reason I enjoyed social media in the first place was to try and create this digital scrapbook that you can look back on, in years to come, and it's somewhere to just sort of park your memories, park your photos and stuff. And that's how I still look at, that's how I started SW Homes, was literally as the scrapbook of the properties we've done, to look back and go, God, do you remember when it used to look like that? That was all it was.
Yeah, I just can't shared albums, so I invite everyone I like on the phone.
Put hardly any family stuff on social media because I'm the same. My social media stuff is my business one. I don't have a personal one, and so I don't put anything on there that relates to, or hardly anything that relates to myself, my family. I don't put anything about my kids on there. I think the last time I posted about them was probably 5 years ago. So and for me personally, I can see your point, Stu, and I think it's individual, which is good. And I think it does give you, like, you could set up an account very easily if you want to do stuff like that. It is quite easy to do, and you can control it and make it not public and all that sort of stuff. For me, I don't really have anyone to share that kind of stuff with, so I don't need to, and hence why I don't do it. That's why I have no driving point to do it. That's why.
This is the beauty of it. Well, what should be a democracy, where you have privacy is your own choice, isn't it? You can choose how much you want to disclose or not disclose. There's certainly plenty of examples of influencers nowadays exploiting their kids for online content. Like, look how cute they are dressed up like this, or look at them twerking, and I think that's disgusting. Like, that's
A lot of some parents will set up an account purely for their kids as a child, to share pictures of them and get followers and whatever. But
Katie Price is
a good example of that.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I think Harvey's hilarious though. He's going to a right little character. Me and my mate will send videos of him all the time. He's fucking brilliant. I think he's going to turn into a right little character, and good on him. I mean, but that's because his mum is sort of promoting him and pushing him into that comical way. But I think he's hilarious, man.
Let me add a little prediction here then, because Stu, you've touched on something interesting about nefarious actors potentially copying our profile, doing something with it. So I went through this.
Great word, Roy. I don't know where you read. Do you swallow fucking, what's that word?
Nefarious.
Nefarious. It's a great word.
I have no idea what that means either. Jack will know.
Yeah, me and Jack are private educators. Maybe that's why. I don't know where these words come from. They just fly out the mouth.
Mate, it's great, mate. You are literally
Thanks.
vocabularist.
Um,
I'm the complete opposite.
an analysis.
State school, baby. Graft up. I
Um,
do need to go, though. Go on, go say it one more
I
time.
know. When I was in the band, I got a hell of a lot of this sort of stuff, like just crazy shit, to a point I was so desensitized from anything that's said about me online. But there were so many people trying to copy my image, pretend they're me, some private account, messaging girls, like sending nudes that they've got online, and then all girls now think that I'm sending my nudes on these private chats, and that stuff can get really naughty, quite dark. Police getting involved with stuff, and I'm like, look, it's nothing to do with me. These are just weirdos online. Now, draw that same comparison to what we do. As we build our profile through ground up and through what we're doing, there'll be successes we get with that. There'll also be these nefarious actors who try and leverage our profiles to get investors and to take people's money to sell courses. And this happens to loads of people who are in business or in property, who build a profile because there are people who think, if I could just take his likeness and just pretend to be him, I might be able to convince investors and other people to part ways with money. So we're going to have to be careful of that. I guarantee it's going to happen.
Digital ID, mate. So anyway, blockchain technology, digital ID, the yellow tick or the orange tick, blue tick, whatever's coming on these social medias is the first step. I mean, it does. As soon as you get the blue tick on Instagram, you stop getting all those dodgy accounts and stuff, trying to pretend to be you, and they sort of duplicate you. I was having like 10 a bloody week at one point. This is crazy. So it's definitely the way forward. But I do think digital ID that just follows you everywhere and just sort of tracks you wherever you are on whatever internet is the way forward. But anyway, I'm off to school, boys. 23 years ago, I went to Basingstoke and done an O&D in construction, and I feel like I'm driving down the same motorway. It's
Don't
very
forget your
weird
pack
nostalgia.
Enjoy, Stu.
Literally,
Don't
there's
go
a Greg's. I
behind
think
your
it'd be.
bike. Don't go behind your bike shed, will we?
Yeah, no. See you later, lads.
Enjoy, big dog. Bye. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to uncover there, Jack, with this AI stuff?
I'm guessing, Jack, you was you talking about you said the safety of your obviously because now you're a parent, so you're starting to think about their well-being as they get older and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with social media. It's become a necessity, and we continue to obviously double down and use it. But a bit of me wishes that it was completely compartmentalized between business and personal, and the personal stuff was a bit more monitored and carefully grown, exactly like you say, whether it's a ghost account or an actual account. But you do go through that thought process of where is it going? Is it good for us? Is it really? If something happens in my life that I feel is like pivotal and I want the people around me to know about it, I feel it loses value if I share that on social media because there's more than my immediate family that I care about knowing that information. And overall, if I care about you, and that's that, because I'll go on WhatsApp and individually message people or make a group or whatever it may be. But I think we touched on it enough. I suppose what the main thing I wanted to get away with it is one, if anyone's got any comments or views themselves that they feel strongly about it and we haven't touched on it. And then equally, just to make people think about what they are building for them or their families on social media, because hopefully this has triggered some thought for our listeners to think, am I pushing, am I naturally going into the area that I want to go into with social media and using it? Because it's difficult, because exactly like you say, Ryan, some of the best con artists, the best marketeers, and that is the platform that they communicate on, because it is to some degree smoke and mirrors, whereas I actually really like the sort of old school back to the roots.
So how are they gonna attract investors for the deals?
Exactly. Compartmentalize two profiles, or it is a really good way of communicating. The way, as I always say, is to if you're not on digital, you're going backwards, and that is a huge unique selling point we have as young business owners to double down on that, because there's a lot of other business owners that have passed that. They're past that. They're too old to capitalize on it.
I think it's the trade-off of the modern age, though, isn't it? If you wanna, if you wanna get somewhere and build something, you need an audience. The cheapest, most cost-effective way to do that, social media. The trade-off is you give up your privacy and you expose yourself, but you get the upside of building a profile that you can monetize and commercialize, and that's just the life we're in, I suppose, isn't it?
Talk about that. Something just came to my. This is completely something different now, by the way. But it just come into my mind. I
Talking about that.
yeah.
Talking about that, completely
So-
different.
I do like I find other business models absolutely fascinating sometimes, and obviously we're in property, and it has its challenges, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's always one of those stable for types of industries where it's been proven for such a long time, and it's kind of like at the base of the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs in terms of housing / shelter. So it's kind of always going to be there. There's some service required or something that you can get involved with to carve out a potential niche in it. But then like there's other business models where they just amaze me. So I was coming across something I'm involved with at the moment, but I came across a news article about something called CV Library. Have you heard of it? So, Jack, you probably have in recruitment.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, it was founded by a guy in the early 2000s, and he just hit the news for having a £60 million dividend. So he still owns the company himself, 100% shareholder. And last year's turnover was like 50 something million, but his profit was 20 something million. It is net profit, that is, as well. The business just seems to be an absolute cash cow, and every year he's just been taking massive dividends to probably reinvest elsewhere. But it's just sometimes these businesses, because what he did, obviously, established the business at such an early stage of the internet, early 2000s, basically tried to find a job himself, had to approach all different recruiters. There was no online job board. Started as an online job board, then tried to get the word out there for people to put their CVs on, and then kind of sell the service to recruiters. Took 3 years, didn't really get any traction, and then all of a sudden using Google Ads. Back then, Google Ads were probably extremely cheap as well for the coverage you could get, whereas now, obviously, pay per click. Ryan, you'll know, it can be very expensive if it's done wrong. Back then, it was probably really cheap, and then obviously blew up, and from there captured a share of the market. And then when time and everything goes past, it's very hard for anybody else to come in and get that market share back, if that makes sense. And yeah, I've just got the accounts now. Well, the ones end in June 2024, and this is just what's filed, so we know that they could do 58 million turnover, gross profit 46.6 million, so an extremely high GP margin, and then operating profit 26 million, 1.8 million of interest received on just the cash at hand. So profit of 28 million before tax on 58 million, which is like, yeah, those business, when I look at business models like that, it's a 48%. That's a 48% profit margin after.
Well, D,
It's just incredible, isn't it?
I do this a lot, and this is exactly what I did coming into property, because I was talking to someone the other day about this, actually, that I hate the sales cycle of developments. And I know we've spoke about this before as well. I much prefer businesses like where you can play around with and tinker with shorter sales cycles, and you can figure out, if I change this and change that, can I increase the bottom line? Can I increase like exposure? Can I increase the booked calls? That's much more interesting to me than a development where, once it's secured and it's financed, well, it's running its course and it's doing its thing, and it's just capex, and I'll realize the revenues later. And that's where we adopted our business model, which is very different to like the traditional developer model. And I'm trying to leverage social media and be the first mover in our space to kind of go build a brand and be at the top of the marketplace, where it's like, this is the trusted entity for XYZ investment service. And I've seen that happen, and my dad's seen that happen in the financial services world. There's a company that I shall not name for various reasons, but they did that to IFAs, and they swept up the market by building brand. They didn't even have a good product. They just built brand really quickly, way beyond social media's time. Like, social media had already blown up, but within their sphere and within the development sphere, name me one developer that has a big brand. There isn't any, other than the big boys that have a big brand in terms of their presence and sheer market capitalization, but not in terms of a big brand. It's only the training gurus that have built brand. And I think there's a space right now for developers like us, and ground up, our ambition is to do that with this, to have brands that are actually trusted developers, because they produce all this content, that transparency, the likeness of personal characters and stuff like that. I think there's still huge opportunities to take over new markets where otherwise old school developers don't look at social media. They're not even thinking about it being a way to grow their business. And we're all taking a slightly different tack on that, but there isn't someone who's at the top of the market yet. I mean, I don't know if you guys can name anyone who's a developer that's
Yeah, I mean, not anyone that hasn't been through that. Like, Rob Moore's got a pretty decent profile. Sammy Lee's got a pretty decent profile, but again, they're
Trainers.
I wouldn't even say Sammy Lee's is a developer. I would say, yeah, they're all trainers. And
yeah.
I agree with you. Like, I think the whole the PIN networks, the progressive property networks, I think they're so old hat and old fashioned now. They've sort of hit their peak, and I think there is space for good looking serial entrepreneur developers to take over the UK. Their name escapes me.
Yeah. Well,
Keep trying, mate. Keep trying. It's true though, man. It's true. There's a gap in the market for it. There isn't because I'd be watching their YouTube channel, and I can't find anyone where I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, they're doing good shit. I can learn from them. It's useful content, likable people. There's just always here's a buy to let I'm doing. By the way, I've got a course on this. If you want to pay me 10 grand, and I'll show you how to do buy to lets. And I'm like, what is our space become? It's so exploitative, rather than just people wanting to give real value away for free. But they're missing the upside, I suppose. Sorry, D.
No.
Go on. Your hair's looking good, by the way.
I need to get it cut actually. I hate going to get my hair cut, which I think I've said before, and I leave it for as long as I can. But it's getting to the stage now where this weekend I'll have to get it done. But no, I was just basically the moral of that was that that's a business model there that they command for nearly 50% net profit margins, which is on scale as well, which is just nuts. And not really, there's not many businesses at all like that.
Software businesses are just so much more scalable.
So I suppose on the back of that, I was asking, what have you guys looked at your own businesses to work out what, because this is something, my business is a bit different. That it's a social impact business where the margins aren't incredibly high, or not, but obviously it is it has a very high positive social impact on everything that we do and build, etc. that we're involved in, and it's scalable turnover wise, and you could structure it in a way where it's capital efficient, so you can get to a very relatively high large size business without, in terms of like relevance, you don't need a pound for pound capital investment, so to speak, to get there. But have you guys looked at your own business models to think where are the opportunities to increase margin or increase cash flow? And without giving away anything sensitive, but what key angles do you look at?
Yeah, I think just to start, a lot of our businesses is managing. So let's say January to December, you have all of these different payments and you've got all of these different invoices you're invoicing, and you've got ways that you can capitalize capital quicker into your business by liquidating X, Y, and Z. I think a lot of it is cash flow management. So we often do, well, we do it every month really, where like we do like a cash flow management, like, do we really need to do that now? What happens if that gets delayed a month and all that sort of thing. I would say that our developments are we're quite project focused. We always try and focus on business focus, but essentially, when you're a leaner SME developer and you don't have the construction in house, it's more difficult to make those fine tweaks to improve margin because you lock in your JCT contract. And yes, there are changes which you can value engineer. There's delays, there's various things, but it's not as easy as, right, I'm going to look at that and try and remove some bits, add some bits to improve things, because it's kind of we're the conductor of an orchestra, and it's very difficult to make that much more efficient all the time. Obviously, we're trying to make things more efficient, but with XP Surveys, which is obviously a service-based business, I find it a lot easier to reduce costs and improve revenue and create margin there, and generate more sales. Whereas in our development stuff, we're live on now 4 or 5 projects, and it's quite a slow ship. I find there's quite a lot of slow movement. So how do we do it? Well, we have I think you have to, if you can't track like data and information, it's almost near impossible, because then you're just going off gut instinct, and sometimes your gut instinct is right, but if you can't back it off the data, you can't operate in that way. So I think data is the most important thing, working out on how efficient you are in delivering something, how long it takes, cost per acquisitions, revenue per overhead, looking at like an actual financial forecast and how it plays out. So for me, we do that all the time. I actually know, Dorian, learning from you definitely spend a lot more time on strategy than we do, and it's always been something I'm pushing more and more to get. And I feel every year the business goes on, I'm spending more time on strategy. But that all comes from data. Like, you cannot do it if you don't have data in your own company. And it's really important to say that, because a lot of business owners don't know their data. Like, I can ask my wife, what's your cost per acquisition? She won't know. And I'm like, how can you know whether you can do that marketing strategy or that marketing strategy if you don't know what your return on investment is in that position? She kind of doesn't really care about all that stuff, because she's more passion driven about the business, whereas she just says I'm like a robot. Which is quite funny, but yeah, I actually ran a team meeting for my wife once, and she said, I don't want you to do that again. It was just too intense. And it's because, like, I just want to know what's that. And if you don't have that information, you can't then make decisions. So
I give a bit of a disclaimer to people before, especially when they're new. And I'm like, look, the type of person I am is I'm a very inquisitive, and I'll ask a lot of questions because I'm gathering data to my fingertips, so I know. So and that's I've some of the feedback I've had is that I can come across as very intense in meetings, and for me, I'm just asking questions, which is just like, they just come into my mind, not even thinking about anything else other than my brain is like building a picture in my mind, and then the next questions come in, and I'm asking it, I'm listening, and do you know what I mean? Rather than, I'm not trying to be intense, I'm just building a picture, but yeah, it comes across as quite intense and scary. Apparently, I'm like, well,
Well, in answer to your question, D, it's since we brought on this AI guy, so I pay him £3 a month to give him different projects to look at the business and go strategically, operationally, how can we improve things and keep dragging the business into the modern day and become out compete any of our competitors, and that's constantly what we're trying to do. And I'm at the moment, I don't want to talk too much about this, but we're it's going to cost me about £9 to build out the first sort of phase, but I'm trying to build a marketplace around an internal marketplace for our investors and acquisitions with a client portal view. So imagine like Deliveroo, where one of the great things about Deliveroo is you can see when it's in the kitchen, you can see when it's out for delivery, the anticipated timeline when it's going to drop for at your front door. We're trying to build the same thing in like an internal dashboard that connects to our task management software. And he's going to recode this whole thing, and it's going to link in with our Monday task folders, and essentially our clients will then have like such a bespoke service with us, really tactile, where they can access all the information. It centralizes comms, and those sorts of things, and that should drags us into the more digital space and makes us more scalable operationally, because we then have a centralized format for interacting with the customer base. And I think those kind of changes, and looking at a business that isn't necessarily traditional, but bringing in more traditional lenses like developments, and then bringing in like the service model. And hello, cat. Hello, cat. I think is a great way to try and scale something that otherwise can't be scaled. Because I think quite a lot of developers think very analog about running their development businesses, whereas there are so many ways you can steroid inject it using things that are maybe a bit left of center for traditional norms, for industry norms. But things like, a portal or a certain marketing strategy, I think could be the difference of 10-20% for your business compared to your counterpart or your local competitor or whoever it is. You've obviously done that with what you're doing by tripling down on your one model. I'm sure there's competitors to you, D, who maybe I actually know people who do. Jack is one of these guys as well, who do a bit of social housing and a bit of private stuff and a bit of HMOs and a bit of this and that. Whereas you've just gone, actually, I'm going to like triple down on that one thing and get really, really good at doing that, which maybe isn't so traditional for a developer. It's not splitting your risk. You're like centralizing things, but then you're going to see the upside that your competitors can't, right?
I think business is always like a tightrope, isn't it? And you always have these, wisdom quotes, like what Warren Buffett's, one of his famous quotes is all about the golden eggs, isn't it? It's about having, you have one side of the coin which says don't have all your eggs in one basket, and then you have people like Warren Buffett's like, if you have an egg, golden egg, you keep it in the basket, and you give it all of your attention, etc. And what I just find with business, and Jack kind of said it earlier, you need data, and you also need a bit of intuition and gut feel, and of course you do need a little bit of luck, because you're walking on you're running on this tightrope, and if some of the environment and everything else lands a bit in your favor, then when you look back and connect the dots, as Steve Jobs says, I'm throwing out with all of these quotes today, that you become like, you look like a genius, but equally you follow the same path, and all it takes is a couple of things to go wrong in that scenario, and you failed effectively. But you'll never know, will you? It's hard. It's just difficult.
One of the things, D, by the way, that's driving a lot of these decisions that I'm making now and trying to like build the business for scale in these different areas that aren't necessarily intuitive, is because of something you said that you got off a Goldman Sachs course, which was, if you're looking at your business as an SME, what does it look like as a global company? Like what part of your business, which makes you then really think about things in the limit, and what could you scale, what can't you scale, where would you focus more of your time?
If you look at I read an article about the IBM business plan. I don't know, Doran, if you've seen this, but they like pulled up the original IBM business plan like 30 years later and looked at it to where it was, of 30 years later, and it was almost identical in terms of projections, growth, what it looks like. So the vision was the driving force. It's like when you're driving they say when you're driving a boat, and you're driving through, like, let's say you're driving underneath a bridge, you don't look at the bridge, you look at where you're going, and naturally you just pull through the bridge and drive through the middle of it. And it's that kind of like concept of like, if you have a clear vision, that's more important to make because obviously it's the same example. If you're building a house, you need to start on the foundations, then go into the the brickwork all the way up to plate, and then put the roof on and go through those stages. But if you don't have that clear vision, you're like, I want to put a roof in the air, it doesn't work. So you have to have a clear path of recognition to then there's obviously, I call that the sort of macro process, and then there's tons of micro processes to improve things day in, day out.
Yeah. I mean, we never stop growing. We never stop improving, which is the beautiful thing.
But I do think that's what you're saying is correct. It's like it's the vision is knowing where you're trying to get to is a big driver to make those decisions. I think I'd said before, when I went to a talk with the founders of Castor, the clothing brand, the brothers, the one of them said when they set the business up, they set it up from day one, and they always said that they were going to be as large as they could be, effectively take over the try to dominate a share within the clothing niche, the athletic clothing niche that they were targeting, rather than just setting a. And then on other examples, then like Michael Dell, when he set his up, he didn't set it up with a plan originally to take over the computing space. Yeah, he just started doing computer repairs in his dorm room and making money off the back of it, and that money made him do more, got more order. That became an organic snowball type business that eventually just landed, kind of right place, right time, right skills, right mindset, right ambition to keep reinvesting everything back in, and then the business plan developed after he got traction.
When people have that little bit of success, so they might have a £10 million turnover business and they've had an element of success, they then typically surround themselves with other people that have got the similar or same or the next level, maybe 100 million turnover, and then they sort of elevate to that next stage of friendships and want to learn off the people that are above. So I also feel like the network that you build on the stepping stones of growing a business are also equally as important.
Yeah, those aptitudes and those attributes in delivery, I think, are more important than the business plan or the vision set out. There'll be good examples for both, right? But if you're always looking to improve something, Jeff Bezos always says this best, where he's so customer focused because it's selfishly the best thing for the company. And then he's adopted that throughout the whole business, that how can I improve the customer experience, improve the customer life cycle, and do that through improving my team and my management style. And if you're always improving something, I don't think it matters what your goal was initially, you're going to get somewhere good as long as you're measuring it and testing it and going in the right direction. Because there's plenty of examples of businesses that weren't meant to be something and ended up being something completely different, like YouTube. YouTube was meant to be a certain thing, and now it's become the broadcaster of the world, and it's basically taken over the entire market share of online content and streaming content and shit like that. I'm sure that wasn't their initial goal. I can't remember what their initial goal was. There is a story about it, but it was just, there's that guy in the zoo that posted the photo of the video of the giraffe, and it was meant to be like home videos getting shared, and now Sky Sports and these big brands use it. So you never know where shit takes you. But I appreciate we've done over an hour and 15 now, guys, which is usually our sort of mark. I feel like a good hour of convo is about what our listeners want and need to then get on with their day. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Do you think it should be an hour and a half, an hour exactly, an hour and a bit?
To be honest with you, I know it says, but I don't, and I mean this with respect. I don't really think of the listeners, because I'm thinking about I'm what we're talking about is of interest, and then I think the whole point about this is because we're all doing what we do. If we talk about stuff that's interesting to us, it should, in theory, be interesting to the people that we want to listen to it.
That's true, mate. That's that's very true. So
I suppose we go until we stop, because we don't want to waste anyone's time, but we want to be, we when we feel like we're talking about useful things, it just comes naturally, and then Stuart's got to go off and go back to school.
Yeah, because I genuinely wanted to ask you about those points, because it is what I'm thinking of. Is I'm trying to think of when you see these other business performances against what we do and all the challenges you come up against and all that, you always get this feeling like the grass is greener, and then it's always good to just talk about it to see what you guys are
Yeah.
doing to
So,
see
so
how.
I haven't actually answered your question, because I know that you do have your data and metrics. So we have a business coach in XB Surveys, and we have an on-exec in the group. And what I found with our business coach is we were doing it monthly, and we'd bring in our BDM, our business manager, and it'll be me and Ben on the call, and we'd talk through everything. So we'll look at the data, we'll look at our month by month, we'll look at our quarter by quarter, we'll look at everything like that. And what I always think about is I look at certain things and think, what can we change there? And sometimes we just go, nothing. We can't change anything in that space. But then I go, if we were to change something there, what 3 options have we got, and what are the pros and cons in those 3 areas? So let me give you an example. Let's say in the surveying business, we're lower down on the amount of quotes that we've sent out, but our conversion rate is higher 1 month, for an example. I'm looking at what have we done in that last month to improve our conversion rate. And sometimes it's just luck. You have some months where your conversion rate is high because it's a lot of repeat business, and some months where conversion rate is low because there's a lot of new business. But then I'm thinking, if there's a lot of new business there, how do we capture that and create that as existing business? What do we need to do and build a process into that? And then spitball ideas. And I found in our business coaching, most of the ideas come from us as a team. Majority me and Ben, like creatively thinking, trying new things. And you try it at something and it kind of works, and then you get a little bit more of a grasp. And I love pulling those problems apart. So for example, in XB Surveys, I felt that we didn't, as another example, which came from the business coaching, I don't know if anyone's heard of the napkin theory, which I read in a business book. It's basically where like restaurants should have different colored napkins for how many times someone's dined with them. So if it's their first time sitting at the table in that restaurant, to try and create them to a existing repeat customer, they should treat them differently on their first dining, second dining, and third dining. First dining is talking them a little bit more through the menu, giving them a bit more of a journey between, why the restaurant was set up and what the recommended meals and favorites, maybe upselling them to a free dessert or whatever it may be, so that or upselling them so when they come back, they get something for free, and then you try and build a habit out of that customer. And we've implemented that into our business with like a coding process. So we've got like a really straightforward coding process for our customers that we understand, but they don't know they're being coded. So it enables us to manage our pipeline really well, and prioritize relationships as and when we need to. And it's those ideas that we drive that then, over a compounding value, when you make 50 of those decisions, it just gets easier and easier and better to be a more seamless business. So I always try and think how could we do this differently? What could we do? And I'm actually probably more of a creative. So that's where I find my flow in that business, sales or like pulling an idea apart and building a process, and just looking at how can we do it different.
it's a healthy balance, isn't it, for a developer to also have, because it's slow pound, and then with the business models, you get the faster pounds. The more, I feel like your brain's a lot more engaged when you're dealing with more day-to-day transactional revenue models. There's something more
in development. There's more important pressure-driven situations. Like if I'm negotiating what the debt lender's giving us as a facility, that's one quick decision with quite a lot of pressure that has a big change. In a service-based businesses, it's low pressure, high a lot of decisions that can be made with a lot less pressure. Because I might say, let's not drop our price on that quote. Let's just offer to do it for 1,600 quid. And they might say no. But if I do that on a deal I'm offering on, that might be a £10 million deal. So it's also character change in terms of how bullish you can be with each decision.
And one thing I would say as well, in answer to something Dee said about business models, and I've got huge conviction on this, that we're in, especially running the construction side as well, we're in the sectors that are safe for the next few years. The example you gave there, D, is a kind of bygone software company that had first mover advantage. I don't think there's a lot of time left for software companies to make all these kind of multiples that they're making, or they will still make lots of multiples, but the sustainability factor is going to disappear. But our business models should be protected. That blue collar heavy sector, I think, is going to be here for a good 10 years. And we're positioned well to weather that storm and have a steady growth compared to these software companies that, although they look really enviable because they're making huge multiples really quickly, but they're like that and then they're gone. And then they like disappear again and they can't repeat the same thing. Whereas we can rinse and repeat our business model and keep it sustainable. We've got a huge infrastructure issue in the UK. We can't build, don't have enough skilled labor, all this and that. And we're the problem solvers underneath that, trying to, build our business off the back of what should be quite a robust industry for the next 10 years to come because of AI and technology disrupting all these other sectors and these revenue models you've been describing. I don't know if you find comfort in that. I generally find some comfort in that.
I think as I touched on this sector, as I say, it's kind of that, it's the base of that the priority needs is always going to be there. It's always going to be in demand. There's always going to be something to do, and it's also extremely difficult, in my anyway, how I see it, for it to be disrupted, especially if you take it out of. So because it's just so, the technology is nowhere near where it needs to be for it to take over that. So it's safe in that regards for sure. It's just sometimes frustrating when you have not frustrating when you shouldn't do. I know you shouldn't do, but when you're benchmarking against much higher performance, which is completely unconnected and unrelated, it just gets your mind working, doesn't it? Thinking what are the options to what are the options out there to increase the profitability of it? And then that's what just starts to lots of different options, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and then that's just what I was tabling really, is what are you guys doing? But it sounds like you guys are always thinking about the same thing as well. How do you get that extra percentage here or there? Where do you get those extra push from? So I'm not alone, which is the key thing.
You're never alone, mate. You're never alone. But yeah, I think that's a good roundup to the pod. A bit of a chat and shit today. We were going to go through some news items, but to be honest, there's nothing crazy exciting that's happening in the market right now. There's just some different bits of government spending, and there's actually quite a funny one where let me just bring this up really, really quick because it's just typical government. So the UK government plans to build 40,000 homes on disused railway land. Yeah. So the UK government's pledged to build 40,000 new homes of disused railway land over the next decade will kickstart with projects in Manchester, Newcastle, Nottingham, Cambridge, aiming to address housing shortages by facing obstacles in infrastructure strains and regulatory delays. And so it's an initial £1 billion development plans target former goods yards, industrial sites and station buildings as a part of brownfield first approach. And the interim goal of 15,000 homes in the first 5 years falls short of the government's larger promise of 1.5 million new homes by the end of the parliament, literally 0.01% of that target. And this is like one of their sort of big announcements. And, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sort out all these brownfield and railway sites. The irony is that planning and regulatory holdups have been one of the biggest causes for bottlenecks and delays. The government getting in its own way to deliver its own housing targets, of which is 0.01% contributor. Like, it's just a joke. Like, how are we here? Like, how is this the best that can be done?
I think that gives us a good topic to go into detail with on the next session for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a few things happening in the market because the government's getting more and more desperate. It's throwing a lot of money at framework agreements for construction, for developments, and things like that. Those are the stuff we're going to look at today. But we'll do that next time. Just thought that was an interesting anecdote there. 0.01% of the housing target would be met by that £1 billion infrastructure investment, which is crazy. But anyway, it's been a good sesh. Big love. Thank you for everyone who watches. And we also have the Ground Up Network, if you don't know about that. Each week we jump on with network members who are all business owners, contractors, developers, upstarts, and we just chat shop and try and help each other out. It's good crack, 7-day free trial if you want to try it out. Check out the link in the description. I'm sure it'll be useful for you. And see you next week. Episode 69 coming up.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deal. We lay 'em